Hello, good afternoon, and welcome to the Midday News. The news is live from our studios here at Kokomlemle. It's Joy997 FM here in Accra and Kumasi. We are live on Love 99.5 FM and affiliates across Ghana's 16 regions, including Dreams FM in Bolgatanga, Pad FM in Damango, and ATL FM in Cape Coast. You can also download the My Joy Online app from Play Store and App Store to listen live around the world in this edition.
Lecturers on the various campuses have voted to continue with their strike action.
The current system of remuneration in the public sector is not fair, and we are not going to agree.
More chaos expected on the labour front as various worker groups threaten strike over salary disparities and what they describe as unfair conditions of service. We'll speak live with the Deputy Employment Minister. Also, private legal practitioner rallies support from members of the general public to petition Parliament for Health Minister Kweku Agyeman-Manu to be tried by the House for perjury.
So we have to make the law bite. I want citizens to join me so that we will present a joint petition to Parliament so that he'll be tried for the perjury in Parliament. He has to face the law.
We'll hear from Martin Pebo and bring you details of the Health Committee's report asking the Finance Minister ensure 16 million cedis paid is refunded to the state. Opposition NDC describes as false some media reports it is strategizing to disrupt the 2024 general election using the yet-to-be-announced parliamentary by-election in Asin North as a dress rehearsal.
We've not had any such meetings. We've not hashed any plan to cause mayhem in any part of the country.
The parties, however, asking the embattled Asin North MP to continue to hold himself as such, but the NPP says the MP is being misled.
Our position is that the Member of Parliament can continue to perform his duties as Member of Parliament.
I think the gentleman is being misled by his party, so he should be very careful.
We also have sports and later on showbiz from dodging her landlord to avoid paying her rent to being a primary school teacher who didn't believe in her voice, and finally an award-winning gospel musician.
We have plans of releasing songs right after Tahile's Prayer. From August to December, we have a lot of package for you.
We have the story of Ohima Mercy, who is planning to release a book about her life, plus bring you highlights from the Tehila experience yesterday. That and more on the Midday News with me, Emefa Apau. Please stay for details. Thanks for your company. This is your home of bold, credible and fearless journalism. This afternoon, a private legal practitioner, Martin Pebo, is rallying support from members of the general public to petition Parliament for Health Minister Kweku Agyeman-Manu to be tried by the House for perjury. It comes as a parliamentary committee that probed the Sputnik vaccine deal, reviewed government paid Dubai-based businessman Sheikh Al Maktoum more than 16 million cedis for the vaccines. You'll recall the health minister told the committee during the public hearing that no money had been paid.
So as we sit here, I believe there's no contract between the two of us.
So, Honorable Minister, what becomes of the payment you've made so far, if any?
Honorable Chair, to the best of my knowledge, we haven't done any payment as yet.
But when you issue an LC, it's an instrument of payment. And I don't know, I've read the LC, its site, but partial performance is allowed. They can draw on whatever that they've supplied, and then the rest of the instruments.
Honorable Chair, this LC was done on site. They cannot draw until we inform the bank that we have received, which we haven't done as yet.
So what becomes of the 20,000 that they supplied you?
We're going to re-engage after they have actually terminated the contract. The initial 300,000 was going to be short supplied by 20,000, and that is how we captured it. So an understanding between the two parties.
Health Minister Kweku Agyeman-Manu during the committee's sitting, but there have been calls for the minister to be sacked after the report was made public. A motion by the minority to have the minister censured was deferred by the speaker just before the House rose. But speaking on Newsfile last Saturday, Martin Pebo said the minister should have gone a long time ago.
So the argument I'm making is that even without this payment that has first come out, the contract that he signed means that payment was to be made soon after soon after the 20,000 vaccines were delivered. So on what basis could the minister go to Parliament to say that nothing is being paid? Is Al Maktoum Father Christmas? Is Al Maktoum Father Christmas that he'll give you vaccines, 20,000, and not receive payment? So you see that this thing that he hasn't paid, that's why I believe we have to press the issue of perjury very hard, because Agmambenu is not living, and so we have to make the law bite. And in this direction, I'm thinking that I want citizens to join me so that we will present a joint petition to Parliament so that you'll be tried for the perjury in Parliament, okay? Because under the Constitution, if somebody obstructs justice in Parliament, he has to face the law. We don't want to go into our ordinary law courts because that may raise some issues.
Martin Pebu is a legal practitioner. In a related development, the vice chairman of the parliamentary committee that probed the Sputnik vaccine deal, Kobna Mintah Kando, says even though the censure motion was deferred by the second deputy speaker, he will continue to pursue the matter until the over 16 million cedis paid is refunded to the state. He spoke on the AM show on the Joy News channel.
When we're debating the report on the floor of the House, our leaders sought to amend the motion to include censorship. The question has been deferred. Probably will continue when we resume. But the point is that I'm going to follow up with a parliamentary question to make sure that we have evidence to the effect that the money has really been refunded to the state. And other issues. Unfortunately, that is my job. I'm the ranking member on the committee. So whether you like it or you don't like it, I must also live up to expectation.
That's Kobna Mintah Kando, minority spokesperson on health. Well, let's dig into that committee's report. And my colleague Elton Brobe has a copy of it and joins me in studio with it. So, Elton, we know the committee tasked the finance minister to ensure that the over 16 million cedis paid is refunded to the state. Give us more details on what the committee recommended.
So, if according to the report, after the minister appeared before the committee wrote to the Ministry of Finance and they demanded two things: whether any money has been paid in respect of the above two agreements between Ghana and Sheikh Al Maktoum, and if yes, the amount paid and the payment instrument used, if any. Now, regarding the vaccine supply agreement between the government of Ghana and Sheikh Maktoum, the Ministry of Finance, in response to the committee request in a letter of 26 July, indicates the following: that the ministry received a request from the Ministry of Health in respect of the purchase of the Sputnik V COVID-19 vaccines from the office of Sheikh Ahmed Al Maktoum for the supply of 300,000 doses at a total cost of $5.7 million United States dollars. The request, according to the report from the Ministry of Health, was dated 10th March 2021 and received at the Ministry of Finance on 11th March. Under Clause 4 of the agreement, 50% of the payment was to be made through the establishment of a site letter credit and the remaining 50% through confirmed letter of credit. Now, according to the Bank of Ghana, in a letter dated 31st March 2021, out of the total amount of $5.7 million owed to Sheikh Al Maktoum, an amount of $2.850 million, representing 50%, has been paid to him, and that translates into the cedi equivalent of 16.3 million Ghana cedis, converted at the exchange rate of $1 to 5 Ghana cedis, 73 pesos. And so this is the background that the Ministry of Finance provided the committee after the minister had appeared before it and said that no money had been paid. Now, if you go to the findings of the committee in relation to this particular matter, is how government should get the money back. The ministries, the recommendation from the committee is that the finance ministry must take steps to recover the 16 million Ghana cedis or 2.8 million United States dollars that has already been paid to Sheikh Al Maktoum, basically because no vaccine has been supplied.
Okay, interesting. Thank you very much, Elton Brobe. We have details of more of that committee's report on myjoyonline.com. Meanwhile, procurement analyst Kobna Atabedu is of the view that beyond the health minister, Kweku Agyemang-Menu, the finance minister, Ken Ofori-Atta, and all civil servants who were involved in the deal should be questioned. He spoke on the AM show.
Technical people behind them who know their job, who should be advising them on the bureaucracy and how to handle it. Where are those people? Those people should be responsible. Actually, they should be whipped in this not the ministers. The ministers will take ultimate responsibility, but there were technical people, and these are the people who are not doing Ghana any good. If you are pulling out of a contract, once termination triggers, there are actions that follow with termination. Part of it is recovering all assets from the other party. Our money is part of the assets, and we should be able to recover it. But you see, it depends on how the contract was structured. And I have seen a number of government contracts with third parties, which are very weak.
You heard the procurement analyst Kobina Atabedu still talking about vaccines. So the Ghana Health Service says it would distribute newly received vaccines to the country's hotspots, insisting it will not be prudent to attempt to roll out across the country. The over 177,000 single-dose Johnson & Johnson vaccines arrived in the country over the weekend, courtesy the African Vaccine Acquisition Trust. Speaking on the AM show earlier today, Program Manager, Expanded Program on Immunization, Dr. Kwame Amponsah-Chiano, said the Health Service will later this week announce modalities for the rollout of the vaccines.
It will be difficult to spread 177,000 doses thinly across board. So we are just looking at a couple of places. We will still go according to the vulnerable population in terms of hotspots and also those who are hardest hit. Johnson & Johnson is one dose. For the others, they are 2 dose schedule. And so anybody who received AstraZeneca will receive AstraZeneca second dose. And we are working around the clock together. So before the end of the month, we have received some AstraZeneca for those who will require the second dose. So that shouldn't panic at all.
Well, Dr. Kwame Amponsah-Chiano is Programs Manager, Expanded Program on Immunization at the Ghana Health Service. We'll turn our attention to some politics now, starting from the economy. And economics professor at the University of Ghana, Godfred Bopping, has refuted claims by the Vice President that the NPP has been more prudent in the management of the current debt situation. Addressing a regional seminar of the tertiary wing of the NPP, TESCON, over the weekend at Cape Coast, Dr. Bawumia said all the facts on all the other macroeconomic indicators have not been impacted by the rising debt levels, shows that the economy has been superbly managed.
You hear the NDC saying, but the debt level has gone up. Sure, the debt level has gone up, but economic management has not gone down. The debt level has increased, yes. But why do we want to maintain prudent debt level? Why is it that we ask that the debt levels be maintained at a prudent level? The reason is because if you do not manage your debt properly, it will affect your growth. Isn't that the case?
Vice President Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia there over the weekend, but reacting to the comments on the Super Morning Show, Professor Bopping explained that we have not made any significant progress for a country in high risk of debt distress.
I respectfully disagree with that assertion. That you cannot totally, in all respect, looking at all the indicators, describe where we find ourselves as prudent debt management. Of course, if you look at it in relation to the other macro variables, we have seen some improvement. But I think we should not set a trap for ourselves in all these comparisons. We should also be looking at it in terms of Ghana's potential and our peers. When you do that, you realize we have not made significant progress. When you look at even the debt levels, and here I'm not going to celebrate the debt to GDP ratio, because we do know that it doesn't tell us the entire story. We also want to look at the implications of the rising debt. We want to look at debt service to revenue ratio. And we want to find out from government, has that improved? Would that constitute prudent debt management? The answer will be no, because we are spending more than 50% of our non-oil tax revenue just to service our debt. That is unacceptable by any definition, any day, any time. Because when you look at how much we are setting aside just to service our debts, it leaves very little or nothing for the country to spend on capex. We are talking about the country. We are talking about challenges with roads. We are talking about the restrictions on the growth drivers of the economy. If you are spending in excess of 30 billion cedis just to service your debts, that certainly cannot be described as prudent. If you look at the wage bill, just wage bill and debt service alone takes practically everything away. You can't.
You heard there Professor Godfred Bopping. He's an economist responding to Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia. Staying on politics a while longer, and the opposition National Democratic Congress has described as false some media reports that the party is planning to disrupt the 2024 general elections using the yet-to-be-announced parliamentary by-election in the Asin North constituency as a dress rehearsal. Two newspapers, The Crusading Guide and The Ghanaian Observer, reports that the party, at a meeting held on the 25th of July, the Member of Parliament for Ningo Prampram, Sam George, encouraged the national executives to adopt violence as a form of strategy in the 2024 election, saying it is the only way the party can defeat the NPP. According to the newspapers, the NDC is convinced the Asin North by-election will be a perfect case for the NDC to test the efficacy of its violent approach. But communications officer of the party, Sami Jemfi, is denying the report.
Said publications are false and a figment of the imagination of the editors or the journalists who authored and published those stories. We've not had any such meetings. We've not hashed any plan to cause mayhem in any part of the country. With regards to our Senate, we've not even begun any conversation at the national level on the possibility of a by-election, because we are determined to exhaust all available legal remedies as far as that issue is concerned. And that is why we, together with lawyers for Honorable Christine, have filed an appeal to challenge the decision of the trial court, and have also filed a stay of execution. It is preposterous for any newspaper to suggest that we have begun meetings to hatch plans of causing mayhem in.
Apologies for the distortion in Sami Jemfi's voice, but according to him, the party has directed the embattled Member of Parliament for Asin North to continue to hold himself as elected representative until it exhausts all legal provisions to overturn a High Court ruling declaring the seat vacant.
Stay of execution has been filed. It means that the decision annulling his election as Member of Parliament and an order to the Electoral Commission to conduct fresh elections in Asin North has been stayed. The decision is not in force. So unless people would want to suggest that the people of Asin North don't deserve representation in the August House of Parliament, because we don't even know when the application for stay of execution will be heard.
But former national chairman of the New Patriotic Party, Peter McMahon, has advised former Asin North MP James Jachi Kwesing not to fall foul of the law. According to him, members of the NDC are misleading him to make decisions he will regret in future.
I think the gentleman is being misled by his party. So he should be very careful. He should be very, very careful. The history of similar incident is there for him to understand. Our own, may his soul rest in peace, Adamusa Kande, went through the same route, was jailed, and later when he was released, he died. He is being misled by his party because a court of competent jurisdiction has given an order that you must vacate your seat in Parliament, that the Electoral Commission must conduct fresh elections. If they have gone for a stay of execution, fine. How long will it take? But I'm saying that his party is misleading him because I can tell you that when he came to contest the election, the NDC in the constituency, some of them even boycotted because they knew that he had a Canadian citizenship.
Staying a while longer on the political front, because the Vice President, Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia, says the NPP stands a better chance of breaking the 8-year political cycle if the party is able to fulfill the manifesto promises it made to Ghanaians. He was addressing the tertiary student wing of the NPP at the University of Cape Coast.
I am of the conviction that if we are able to build on this solid foundation, complete all initiated projects, and execute our 2020 manifesto pledges, Ghanaians will give us the opportunity to continue governance beyond 2024. We will deliver and we will break the 8. I am very sure about that.
We can hear once again from the former campaign manager of the NPP, Peter McMahon, who says how the party manages the internal contest ahead of the 2024 election will determine how far it will go.
And continue to remain attractive to voters. Mm-hmm. And I think so far, the party is in government, and the policies and programs of the government would also be part of how we can break the 8. Mm-hmm. The party must show unity at all times, particularly going into internal elections and then election of presidential candidates, which is also a major ingredient that will make the party attractive to the electorate.
Former national chairman and former campaign chairman of the NPP, Peter McMahon, who was speaking on The Probe with me last night on the Joy News channel. This is the Midday News here on Joy 99.7 FM. We'll take a quick break. Our top story so far, looming labour unrest. More chaos expected on the labour front as various worker groups threaten strike over salary disparities and what they describe as unfair conditions of service.
Lecturers on the various campuses have voted to continue with their strike action.
The current system of remuneration in the public sector is not fair, and we are not going to agree.
And later on, showbiz, from dodging her landlord to avoid paying her rent to being a primary school teacher who didn't believe in her voice, and finally, an award-winning gospel musician.
We have plans of releasing songs right after Tahile's career. From August to December, we have a lot of package for you.
The boys are back, oh! The boys are back! Imagine inviting great footballers like Ronaldo, Messi, and Mbappe into your home. Imagine feeling the big man temperament of football's fiercest rivals in your living room. Imagine enjoying the home ground advantage of witnessing the best of Serie A, La Liga, Premier League, UEFA Europa, and many more leagues all in English. Or stop imagining. Just get a GoTV decoder now at 89 Ghana cedis and upgrade to GoTV Max to turn your home into the home ground of great football. To purchase a new decoder, SMS GoTV to short code 1731. GoTV. Love it.
Drama from day one.
This bulletin is live in the Volta region on Jubilee Radio Keta, Volta Premier and Kekali Radio in Ho, Lonlonyo FM in Hohoi, Pando FM in Pando, Fafa Radio in Juja, Radio Hogba in Angloga, Klenam Radio Bato, Victory FM Aflao. In the Eastern region, we're on K-Poly Radio in Kofrodia. In the Northern region, we're on Bishara Radio, Radio 123 and Radio Justice in Tamale. And in Savannah region, we're on Inkelege FM in Bole. In the Upper East region, we're live on A1 Radio and Dreams FM in Bogatanga and Radio Fumbese in Fumbese. In Upper West, we're live on Radio Sunmale in Wa, Radio Freed in Nandom, Radio Wa in Wa, and Bolu FM in Bolu. In the Bono East region, we're on Gaskia FM in Techiman. In Bono region, we're on Sky FM and Parrot FM in Sunyai. Central region, we're live on ATL FM in Cape Coast. And in the Western region, we're on Radio Max in Takrady.
Thanks for your company here on the Midday News. So let's do sports. Gary L. Smith, hello.
Hello, MFA. Thank you very much for the time. And Heart of Oak board member Vincent Odote Soa says the playing body will be strengthened ahead of their CAF Champions League participation. The Phobians completed a double in the 2020-21 football season as they emerged champions in the Ghana Premier League and won against Ashgold in the MTN FA Cup. The Phobians will begin their journey in a month at the preliminary stage of the CAF Champions League, hoping to secure a spot in the group stages. Sodote confirmed a couple of signings will be made to ensure the teams becomes formidable on the African terrain.
Exactly 4 weeks from now, we'll play our first game in the Champions League. We've had a long season. The time to prepare is short, but we still believe that God will give us the discipline. God will give us the wisdom to make sure that we put a team together. We are in the process of bringing in a few players to strengthen the team under the direction of the head coach. So we believe that If we continue to do work as a team, continue to show the discipline, and then we'll be able to give a good account of ourselves, on the African continent.
Vincent Udute, so of Heart of Folk speaking there.
Phobia. Masters.
That's it for this one.
Thank you very much, Gary. And now let's hit the labor front, because there appears to be a labor unrest as various worker groups threaten strikes over salary disparities and what they describe as unfair conditions of service. The University Teachers Association, UTAG, the Ghana Medical Association, GMA, and other worker groups say they are becoming increasingly frustrated with government's failure to adhere to agreements signed on salary increments. There's more in this News Desk report.
Academic activities at the country's public universities have come to a halt over the last few days after the University Teachers Association and the Senior Staff Association decided to withdraw their services. UTAG declared a nationwide strike from August 2, accusing government of delay in the negotiations of their conditions of service. They are demanding government reviews the current rate of research allowance payable in 2012, among others. Dr. Eric Abavare is National Secretary of UTAG.
Those agreements were just the peripheral. The peripheral here means that there were issues to partially address, do not constitute the core of our concern. And the core of our concern got to do with the restoration of our emolument or our salary.
Newly elected General Secretary of the University of Ghana branch of UTAG, Professor Ransford Jampo, says they will continue with their strike in spite of a court injunction restraining them.
The fight has just started. Lecturers on the various campuses have voted to continue with their strike action. So what would they do to these lecturers? Arrest all of them to prison? Well, let us see. Let them come arrest all of us and send us to prison. We'll go and demonstrate there.
Health workers are also threatening strike. The Ghana Medical Association has served notice of total withdrawal of services by October 15 if long-standing issues of salary and other conditions of service are not met. Dr. Justice Yankson is General Secretary of the GMA.
We have done more than enough in terms of what we have to discharge by way of our work. The onus is now on the employer to also ensure that they meet in full their side of the bargain.
There's also tension brewing amongst members of the Ghana National Association of Teachers, which has rejected the recent 4% salary increment for public sector workers. Several other unions, including the Trades Union Congress, had earlier rejected same and demanded a review to reflect the growing income gap between Article 71 office holders and ordinary government workers. Philippa Larson is not president.
The current system of remuneration in the public sector is not fair. It favors some categories of office holders in the public service, and we are not going to agree.
Meanwhile, the Director of Labour Research and Policy with the Trades Union Congress, Dr. Kwabna Nyako Otu, says the union is under pressure from its members to call a strike in protest against the 4% salary adjustment for public sector workers.
We also have the issue of pay inequity in the public service. Now, we need a presidential commission on wages and salaries.
That was a News Desk report. Well, the National Labour Commission is headed back to court to cite the University Teachers Association of Ghana, UTAG, for contempt after they refused to go back to the classroom in spite of the injunction placed on their industrial action. Well, it's time for our Drive Safe campaign.
Safe driving saves lives. Drive safe.
And this afternoon, Head of Education, Research and Training with the Police, Motor Traffic and Transport Department, Superintendent Alexander Obing, has called on government to prioritize the dualization of major highways in the country. Latest data from the MTTD indicates as many as 256 people died from road crashes just in the month of July 2021 alone.
If you are operating a road safety system that will not recognize or anticipate and accommodate human errors and prevent consequent death or serious injury, you are bound to fail. For how long shall we sit down without preventing headlong collision involving high occupancy buses?
You heard the Superintendent Alexander Obing, who is head of education, research and training with the Police, Motor Traffic and Transport Department. It's time to go to church. Mapitso Sibidi is here with Showbiz. Mapitso?
MFR, now from dodging her landlord to avoid paying her rent, to being a primary school teacher who didn't believe in her voice, and finally an award-winning gospel musician, Ohima Mercy is to release her book, and it is going to be powerful, it is going to be spirit-filled. I want you to listen to this.
I'm about to release a book about my life. Okay. And it will inspire a lot of youth. You see, if you really want to be an eagle like myself, you need to have time for God. God does not rush into taking us to the pulpit just like that. Okay. It takes us through a process. And sometimes the process is so rough, the process is so dirty. I always say that to train you and for you to understand his timing is very, very important. Secondly, marking time does not also mean that your life will be like that forever. God has a way of taking everybody to the top.
And the 7th edition of the Tahila Experience happened yesterday, and it was amazing. Sisi Chum was there, emoji music, and it was just so, I don't even have words to describe it.
Spirit-filled.
That's
and,
right.
Many congratulations to Ohima Mercy for pulling this off every year.
Yeah.
She deserves all the commendation.
That's right.
And that's how we wrap up this afternoon's edition of the Midday News. On myjoyonline.com, there are more stories. Pressure mounts on Health Minister to resign following botched Sputnik V vaccine contract. We also have We Won't Call Off Strike Despite Court Order, UTAG. And then also our management of CD has been one of the best. Jachi Kwesing has been misled by his party, Peter McMenu. That's and more, myjoyonline.com. I am MFR Pau. Many thanks for your company. Living Word with Pastor Mensoltable. Approve the things that are excellent. We have episode 1. Tuesday.
Joy 99.7 FM.
Joy, Joy, Joy FM. I love this station.
Postponed a year because of the coronavirus pandemic. The world's best athletes will once again compete, and the world's best home of electronics and appliances, Electroland, have everything for families and everyone.
Electroland Olympics promotion. Okay, just follow me. You can grab anything from Samsung, NASCO, Toshiba, and media for your family and loved ones. What a great discount. NASCO LED flat TV starts at $999.